Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. And here I thought it would never happen to me, rant me, M52, WW, 50, together for 22 years, married 20. 3 kids, 2 young adults, 1 7 years. 5 years ago the WW had a late life epiphany. Sex was good and enjoyable. We went from 1 to 2 times a month to daily, and sometimes, if time and responsibilities allowed, twice in the same day. The activities included seductive nudes sent to my phone or email and cutesy stuff, hearts and smileys reminiscent of our earlier days in the relationship before kids. Somewhere in this time, January 2018 talks about spicing up the bedroom by bringing another person in the mix. First red flag, it was a guy friend from our cohort that the WW suggested. Noped it hard with the simple reason of not having my cup of tea to be naked in the same bed with another guy and my spouse. It got dropped then, but articles about poly and open relationships were being dropped on my inbox or links on the phone. I would read them, and vary from non-committal to not interested. A week before Thanksgiving 2018, we're out on a date and the talk about including a third comes up. I ask if this hypothetical third has a name. It's a close friend with whom we spend a lot of time together, etc., and with whom the WW has spoken about this idea with already. Pay for the drinks, get in the car and proceed to flip my lid. 1. I never agreed to this. 2. For any such conversation I should have been present and not told after it was decided. 3. Duck no. Literally. The holidays sucked for all, but it was one of the best weight loss programs for all adults in the house. Around February 2019 we get our shit together to talk it through. She's repentant and remorseful, admits poor judgment and understands why I'm not okay about the deceit, as well as the whole idea. She got it. Sex life took a hit, we managed to find a new pace. At least once a week, but the spark and lust were subdued. Earlier this year, a parent that I had a difficult relationship with passed away unexpectedly. I was there for a planned 4 days, stayed for 45 and a funeral. My baggage started resurfacing, especially some of the treatments that I experienced of being the safe one, the second choice. As I am starting to deal with this crap milkshake of the soul, WW starts to be withdrawn, always on electronics, limited conversation and only about the basics. Duck. I'm at a place to deal with my loss, and now this. Okay. I get on her machine after midnight when the house is all quiet and there's nothing in recent email or on FB and on phone messages. There's activity but nothing that points to coded or otherwise hidden messages. I check the time frames of 2017 to 2018. Bingo. I sent emails to the friend from her with the same spicy pictures I was getting at the same time. FB Messenger for the same period is full of good mornings, smiley faces, hearts and flirting between them, video chats from 5 to 15 minutes. WW was starting a business and friend would stop by for coffee or lunch daily as he could. At the time he was there to help and advise. Flip of lid, part 2, the idiot awakens, got the 20k volts coursing through me all night. Could not sleep, sit. Just paced. Around 6 a.m., WW wakes and asks what's wrong. I open the laptop lid and show her the highlighted emails with her naked pics to the friend's email. No inbox, just sent files. I asked how she would react if she found out I had pictures of a naked woman on my machine and that they were of a time period covering at least 10 months prior to what I said was a silly mistake. I pointed out that she did lie, she did have at least an emotional affair with the now verified AP, and it was deliberate. Trust was lost and any statement from her at this point would be suspect to its truth. The first apologies of the WW ended in the trash can as she started to vomit. I asked why she did not tell me about this 4 years ago. We would have dealt with this already. I told her I'm taking the day to think about it and sharing because it can happen to anyone. None of us are special. And here I thought it would never happen to me. Update. Today is my first day of firsts. The outpouring of support and trauma shared is staggering. I find myself glad and sorry that I'm not alone in my experiences. Thank you to all for the advice, comments and suggestions from readings to step-by-step playthroughs. I have replied to individuals, but it's worth updating all and clarifying some points before the update. She did have a miscarriage that was a bloody affair that we rushed to the ER for, with her soaked in her own blood. It was verified as such by the trauma staff and Obgen at the hospital. It was early in the first trimester. No way to tell who the father was. This was early 2018. Got snipped shortly after. Sex life was still on the red-hot stage of things. I have heard from several of you that the DNA test route is a good idea. It's yet another truth that has been challenged today. Affair partner is single, has been divorced for at least as long as we were married. Racially we're European stock, he's mostly African American and Native American. He's very well spoken, charming and educated. WS was engaged in minority community outreach and education for years, as was AP. WS' nascent business was with an actual storefront. Sure, there were spaces that two adults could be intimate in. If there's a will, there's a way. AP runs his own consultancy and makes his own hours. Flexible schedule and has small business experience, offered to help with the startup and was an advisor. Again, legitimate reasons to be there plus time. Business was started in the fall of 2015, the storefront opened in winter of 2016. Closed shop spring of 2019. Good idea, bad execution. In retrospect, WS had her mind and focus elsewhere. And yes, the more I reread this text, the more of a calamity this man was for us. After spending the day in disbelief, anger and errand voltage running through me, I came home. My insides are playing death metal while outwardly I whistle easy listening tunes. WS is on the couch, collapsed in on herself. She tried to get up to greet me and I just pointed my hands at her. She sits. I grab the chair as far from the couch as I can. I inform her that I'm 1 foot out the door. I will decide which direction I move in the relationship based on what she does next. I tell her that since she's the mother of the kids, and out of respect for our time together, I will endeavor to keep nastiness on my part to a minimum. I remind her it's more fair than she deserves and it's because of my self-respect, not her actions. Because of her ducked-up upbringing and the abandonment she experienced, I tell her not to be afraid of me disappearing. I tell her that if leave, she will be explicitly told. I also let her know that her presence in the house is at my discretion at this point. She has luggage and can be told to leave if at any point she disrespects me or tries to lie. We discuss how to tell the kids. She wants to tell them it's the fight from 2018. I remind her how one of the teens stopped speaking to her and how she would be a pariah once again in the house. She starts crying and I remind her she did this. I will talk to the kids with her there. She shook her head and cried. In return, to begin with, start with the no contact letter to AP. Start the timeline on paper. Anything not true, we're done right there. A list of passwords to accounts, bank and plastic records. She gets the couch. I will let her know what next. Before I left the room, he asked her who she has become a stranger. You're about to be trickle-truthed into oblivion. Just an FYI for you, man. She is going to lie, omit, and obfuscate because that's what they always do. My advice is to take time for yourself and decide what you really want to do. Yeah, I know, but the cat's out. Really don't care about the color at this point or how big or small it is. Every person is different. Some want every detail possible, others only want the who, what, when, where, why. I'll only say I know this is devastating for you and I'm sorry you're here. But many of us have been in this situation and you will be okay. Like I said, take time for yourself. Thank you. Don't want to concern you. But maybe you should do a DNA test on your youngest son. Just in case. Saw you responded to another comment and you need to know that blood types are not paternity proof. Is not a reliable method to know if you are related to someone. I would DNA all of the kids. just on principle. Drive home the gravity of the situation. The Reckoning or And Here I Thought It Would Never Happen to Me, Part 2. NSFW. The last couple of days have been a blur due mostly to lack of sleep and good friends who made sure I was fed and in a place to be and figure things out. The original story should be linked in the post. This is an update. While going through WS phone, I found her text file with all her passwords to her accounts. Facebook, email accounts, Apple accounts, etc. So one more piece of intel. I have not been this angry, hurt and confused in my adult life. I found all the things that I held as hard truths to be null. It's surreal having the person with whom you build a life with being asked to write a no-contact letter to her AP. It's even more surreal for the WS to not argue when I've been asking her to do things. I asked her to also provide me with the affair timeline. Based on what she wrote, I would decide on my next steps. This all the morning after. I got myself to work and got sorted there with management about time off. My manager was understanding and gave me no problems. I started going through WS social media chats with AP and started seeing a pattern of flirting and daily conversations from Jan 18 to almost June 19th. After that there were more conversations between them, but mostly about a project that the two of them have been engaged in for a while. There were 2 dates in the text lineup, on March 19th and one on April 19th. The first was flirting between them where AP was commenting about WS lips and how he loves kissing her. She replied back with heart emojis and how she could not wait to see him in the morning. This was during the time that I was away on a trip with the 2 younger kids visiting family. Screenshot number 1. The second exchange was WS telling AP that she's sorry for hurting his feelings but they need to keep it just to the project. Screenshot number 2. Send both screenshots to WS via text and ask that she include those in the timeline. She starts explaining over text that they're not what they seem. I text her to just put the explanation in the timeline. Finish a couple tasks at work and head home. WS is sitting on the couch reading a book. I ask her how the timeline is coming along. She looks up and says she will work on it when she has time in the evening. She looked like she was crying but was putting on a brave face. I'm irritated by this. I can't interpret her stance. It could be I don't want to do this, it's not important, or can't face it, or you're not the one in charge. This is not a game. Send a text to my friend, letting her know that I need an exit and shelter in place. Got confirmation and ETA. Grab my laptop, charger cables etc., toiletries and bug out bag. Get the text from a friend that says ETA is 2 minutes as I asked. Walk into the room with WS and ask when the timeline will be done. She says she's going to work on it that evening. I let her know that she can concentrate better without me there and that I will be back home when the timeline is complete. And exit stage right. She's left mouth agape as I walk out. I had a timeline in my email inbox in 40 minutes. On the very first of the versions, half of the timeline were apologies, excuses and reasons that made no sense. It took several days of edits and pointing out the inconsistencies in the narrative. I wanted to drive home the time this was hidden, so I sent her a document that I asked her to fill out because of her jumping around in her story. It was really a list of all the months from September of 17 to June of 22. She started her timeline from September of 17 with the first set of spicy pics she sent me and continued on from there, with focus after the blowout we had, when she announced her desire to open the marriage up and have an affair with the AP. She felt ashamed and sorry for her actions on November 18th and did not speak to AP until after the holidays. Sometime in January 18th, while we were working towards reconciliation, she started speaking with him again and he was supportive of her and understood where she stood. He asked her if she would like to drop out of their project and she said no, as it was very important to her as a project in general. During that time, they continued to spend time together but would no longer tell me about it. When I had noticed this, I had asked AP why he was no longer around as much, not that I minded, and he said that he was spending more time with his son who was now staying with him. In providing support for their soft breakup that was our fight and almost breakup on November 18th with WS, they got closer, rekindled and continued with their EA. The highlight was the texts of the screenshot I caught where the two of them apparently shared an intimate kiss for the first time, sometime on May 19. After that they continued having encounters when they could that were mostly making out and some petting over the clothing. WS apparently was feeling guilt and shame and broke it off with what was the aftermath in the conversation that got caught on April 19th in text. When I had a cohesive timeline, I sent it to the AP and asked him what he had to say for himself. He responded with how sorry he was and that he never should have engaged in that relationship and how sorry he was. He would tell me anything else, but I needed to find out what happened. Told him that WS and I were talking about a sexual misconduct complaint against him. Truth was we had never talked about it, but I knew the organization he worked for and the project the two of them were involved in and how damaging any such publicity would be. He sang like a canary and gave the WS up without a fight. Right under the bus. He admitted that she approached him, that he knew my reservations but thought I could be open-minded. WS was to him a friend who truly understood the social issues of his life and felt he could speak to her with an open heart because she understood him. Yeah, I know. I had the same reaction when I read that. He was sorry for the damage and was ashamed for lying and keeping it a secret. I called him a snake in the grass and how I was not there to give him absolution. From their timelines, I gathered that they were on and off and confused as to when it was just an EA or just working on a project, and even the PA parts were strained, with him leading most of the time and her being active at first then passive towards the end. He said he was sorry. I told him to keep the duck away from us, at least while I'm in the picture. Getting enough information between WS and AP, I think I got a pretty good idea of the truth to what happened. It was an emotional affair that got started from the WS attraction to AP. His role in pursuing and in some cases manipulating the WS. The lying that they both engaged during the time it was supposedly over. Lies, betrayal and more lies. Had a talk with a couple of lawyers who pretty much said the same things. The most brutally honest one was the last one I saw, who upfront told me that the postnuptial agreement I was looking for would not make sense in any of the US because of how long we had been together. There would be no alimony, but the support that I would have to be would be more than half my paycheck. To his recommendation, it was not the worst he had seen, so he would rather we spend the money on counseling versus legal fees. Either way, if we were to divorce, the process would cost as much as the postnup, so not a win there either. The night before my return home, got quite drunk with my friend at her house, where 3 bottles of wine died for our sins, and my body not so gently reminded me that I'm 52 not 25. She's one of my best friends, even though attractive as hell, never made a move as I was always involved. She's also good for the ego and took care of me emotionally and physically when I could not eat. Nothing like a Valkyrie telling you to eat or else. During my time away from home, I kept in touch with the kids and offered to listen to anything they had to say. 7 years. Was the hardest to speak with as they cannot understand but know something is wrong. The day before my return home, I visited the house and had a conversation with the WS. I set what I expect on the table. 1. She's going to get a job. Enough living on my dime and saving the world, 1 social program at a time. There will be no reconciliation for a year. 2. During this time we're in counseling, individual and couple, so I can get answers as to why. Also because no matter what, we're tied together because of the kids and need to deal with each other. 3. There will be no physical contact. Bought a bunk bed for the 7 years. Room so she can move in, and I get the bedroom. Meanwhile I get the couch, which is fine. 4. Because of all this she has caused me to question what relationships are. Not sure if this relationship is what I want or if WS is the right person for me anymore. I will date casually during this year if I choose. If she decides to do the same, we go straight to separation, amicably. 5. I will conduct myself with dignity and compassion. I could go scorched earth but will not due to the damage it will cause the kids. She's now a secondary priority. Kids are my first and will remain so. I had a full confession out of both AP and WS, and even though there's still fog and shame, I know enough of what happened. Even if I don't know all the truth, I know enough to feel I'm right in my decisions. I also know that I will check the color if WS says the sky is blue for a long time to come. I made edits to this doc after falling asleep on it out of exhaustion. To all of you, thank you for your support, wisdom, perspective and reaching out. Stay strong, all of you. Most likely they are both trickle-truthing. I would assume they had sex since she told you she wanted to have sex with him in a threesome, which means she wanted it to be real. Get to STD test. If it is important for you to know this information, you can ask your wife for a polygraph. Got the STD testing, waiting on results. To be honest, they had an affair in their heads. Once they started the idea and agreed to start acting on it, bumping uglies means little except the practicality of STDs. They had an affair and kept it secret. They both admitted to it. With or without the sex, they betrayed trust and friendship. Maybe I was spared the indignity of being cuckolded, maybe not. The kids are my priority, not her. You are handling this like a pro. How certain are you that this is not a PA? Thank you. I wish I wasn't in this place. I'm not certain on how far the PA went. Any sex would be insult to injury. They decided on an idea to do something with each other in secret. The PA is how far they got, how strong their conviction. The thing is that if you have a thought and act on it, it makes it easier every time after to do the same. So what I found is what they were thinking, what behaviors despite the possible damage around them, they were engaged. And to me it's enough. Listen, don't stay for the kids, it's not worth it, plus even when you caught her and Stace is just gonna get better at hiding her affairs this time, so not worth staying. I am a little confused about the duration of the affair. From my last post I thought it started in 2017 and ended in mid-2018, but here it looks like it started in 2018 and ended in 2019. Brother, they are still lying and trickle-truthing you. They met daily for years and was in affair, but they didn't have sex. How convenient for them. You are handling it like a boss man. I like the conditions you put there. Especially condition 1, she is living on your money, doing social work or getting ducked by another man, asking her to earn for herself. And condition 4, if she tries to date, dump her, and your friend looks good for starting dating a man. And that pos AP, he knew your reservations but he thought you will be okay with it, he thought you will be okay with him ducking your own wife. How conveniently he is lying. Was WW still in contact with AP? Maybe after you left your home they called and matched up their stories? This is a deep and dark rabbit hole. Broke the trickle-truth dam and have regretted everything that I found out. There's some vile stuff there. The timelines as they stand now are from spring 2017 to mid-2019 sometime. Then from texts and emails, it becomes strictly business. The above time period and the fraction of what I could take from the WS download, is what has me reeling. I will be posting an update as I struggle to find words other than evil, dark, decrepit, perverted. As I expected, man, nobody meets daily while in an affair for years and just kisses. File that sexual misconduct complaint against AP man, he should feel some heat for what he has done. 2-year-long affair is a ducking relationship, not an affair, and in this relationship you were the side guy, not AP, as she was at least honest with him. And that ducking AP, he thought you will be okay with him ducking his wife. What type of pos is he? I know you don't think it's possible, but do a DNA test on your kids, man. Not happened to me. Update, D-Day plus 1 month. Previous parts here. The awful part of finding out more of what happened is how you now see the red flags you ignored in the past. The ride of the skiff in the tsunami continues. AP has been working on WS since 2014. Found out that this is his hobby. He has moved around different groups of people with the community, and couples seem to combust into divorce around him. Also found out he's ex-military, with a specialty in counterintelligence. All these years and we never knew this. It was an interesting night at the pub. His tactics are always to infiltrate, subvert, divide and spoil. Long story how I found this out, not for here. The divorcee who told me the story has been single since 2010. How he moved in on the WS was by spending time and becoming her best friend, confidant, adventure partner and eventual affair partner. He exploited character weaknesses and stresses between WS and myself as we started and closed a business and all that goes with it. The strife from this affair at the time led to spousal alienation. The affair also led to WS alienating our teens, with consequences that lead to our teens rebelling and an awkward age becoming more difficult. Plus 4 years of a toxic secret festering between WS and I. As expected, the emotional affair was also physical. All but intercourse by the time WS approached me with talk of opening up the relationship, legitimizing what was already happening. Sure that at some point in the future I will receive private pictures from an unknown account with the immortalizing of some of their acts together. AP had plans for the WS too. Getting married, meeting his swinger friends etc. Maybe she felt sorry for me, maybe she snapped out of the haze, maybe that was a unicorn in a meadow full of rainbows. She put a stop to it, professing her family and kids. There was some light blackmail, allegedly, but they kept up appearances of the friendship until WS broke off all contact sometime early 2020. Cordial but distant after that. Both of them lied, of course, as to what really happened, with the WS making it sound like an innocent mistake in 2018 and giving me most of the truth recently. AP swore up and down they were friends in 2018, admitted to a consensual relationship of some petting and kissing, then blocked all of us off. I'm not sure if reconciliation is possible, but need to go through the motions so as to figure out how to prepare before the next time and get the duck out of this. I'm in the process of rebuilding my damaged relationship with the older kids and spending more time with the youngest. I'm waiting on the paternity tests to come back. Thank you all for the suggestion, but even if the kids are not mine, I'm not trusting them around WS. Either way, the young adults are more pissed at WS than I am and would have voted WS off the island already. The good thing is her BS is seen for what it is by the young adults. I have fewer years ahead of me than behind. I'm planning on continuing to live a happy and healthy life and see my kids prosper. WS will not be part of it, only where we meet for the kids. Moving on. I have set a reconciliation date for next Father's Day. I'm keeping my word as I need to rebuild mine and my kids' world into a stable one and not the shit show it has been. Are you attempting to reconcile or just faking it for a year until you divorce? I'm not really looking to reconcile. More like finding a common ground and space as we're tied due to the kids. She's still their mother and especially the youngest is still very attached to her. I read it as he is taking a year to see if there is anything worth salvaging, but not expecting to actually find anything, at which point he'll just file and be done with it. It's a common occurrence with guys in his position, and whilst it's almost like throwing the dice, it's also coming from a place of being able to look at yourself in the mirror at a future date and say, I tried and failed, but at least I tried. Well, that, and apparently his lawyers advised him he's going to have to deal heavily with the financial fallout of a divorce. But hey, you know the saying? Why is divorce so expensive? Because it's worth it. In Op's case that definitely seems true. This story was devastating and I remember it from a couple of months ago. One of the conditions for the WS is to stop activities of the type of save the spotted garden snail or whatever social cause do year comes up and get a job commensurate to her skill and education level. She has an advanced degree that she, meaning we, paid for. That was a strain on time and finances that she never used. She can now contribute to the raising of the kids and not be a tick on my back. What a psycho. But don't forget, she is the one that brought him into your lives. He's ex-military, with a specialty in counterintelligence. It's very likely that's a load of bollocks, if he's claiming that. He sounds like your run-of-the-mill, deep into the cluster B spectrum, manipulator. I have seen a similar type of gangrene individuals demolishing relationships within my old circles from my marriage. They all seem to follow the same playbook. The string of divorces that ensued after the arrival of a certain couple. I now realize I was witnessing a feeding frenzy by two energy vampires. Unfortunately, by this stage the person you were married to is long gone and her mind is absolutely taken over by the parasite. Willingly. So reconciliation will likely be a waste of time. I hope you're already working with a good lawyer, and that you're starting the process of detaching emotionally from that person. Manipulation, gaslighting, etc. is going to go off the charts. So be prepared for that. You will also see your ex-wife who is 20 years old in the next few months. People like the AP are straight up energy vampires. So he's feeding off your ex-wife, and also from you. For whatever reaction he's causing you to express. Good luck. Please make sure you're protecting yourself and limiting contact with that person as much as you can. His time in the service was verified by one of his previous victims. AP is a pro at this. I'm sure that there will be more of this in social circles, which BTW, he's good at compartmentalizing. I know, and I've heard how jealous and controlling I am behind closed doors from some folks. So I was being set up as the patsy, most likely at the same time as he set sights on WS. Evil and vile stuff. You would be surprised what a whisper in the right ears will do when amplified by a big mouth. I was a victim of something similar. The whole whisper campaign to poison a relationship. It feels like watching your life being demolished from afar, while not being able to do anything. Sorry mate. My fit on November 18th and something in the WS may have saved me. He had plans and they did not include me in the picture. I'm sorry, Op, but it's completely unclear how you can recover from such destruction as infidelity in this terrible situation, staying for another year in a toxic marriage with a betrayer. Yes, you need to think carefully about the terms of the divorce and draw up a file on the best terms for you and the children, but this will not take a whole year. You yourself wrote that you have less years ahead of you than behind, so why waste precious time on the shit that she piled around? Act with an exit from these marriages ASAP. We are all mortal, and life rarely follows our plans. Building relationships with children is also better when they are not in a state of uncertainty about the future. Good luck. The devastation that has happened with the young adult kids is staggering. They have been functionally without a mother since 2017. WS and the children were isolated from each other. I was working full-time at my regular job and business plus a part-time gig to make ends meet and keep a roof over our head. I was isolated from the kids as well. I wrongly thought they were being cared for and their needs were being met. Still made time for them, but the truth is I was exhausted and drained. They think I abandoned them all alone, and that is a big thing for us to overcome, but working on it. I need this time to build some bridges with them and make sure they will be okay with what is to come. Intellect and adult recognition of events is at least on my side with them. I wish I had pulled the plug in 2018 and not believed WS. I get to do better now and at least protect the kids from her neglect. If the kids get lost or flounder, there is no life for me. Good for you, you're doing everything you can. It is always very difficult to gain the trust of children, especially your own ones, but I believe that you will cope. Chin up, bro. Thank you. Did your WW write all the details in her timeline, or did you have to put in the extra effort to find out? What you told as an update still sounds like a minimized version of the story, and there is more. I hope it's not because you don't know the whole truth, but because you don't want to go into too much detail. If all you know is enough to leave, you don't need to know more, but if reconciliation is a possibility, then you should know the whole truth and your WW have to get a polygraph. WS claims it was a coercive relationship. He did things she did not like but kept going back. I rolled my eyes on this too. After I confronted AP, he blocked us everywhere. So all I have is phone records, text screenshots and what she says happened. Yes, there's a ton of details that I'm abbreviating for the post. She was in a physical affair, willingly with someone else. Broke trust, destroyed honesty, demolished her family and hurt her children. Even if she's vomiting most of the iceberg, what she admitted to is enough. It has nothing to do with me or how I was in our relationship. She bears sole responsibility for her actions. I'm fixing what I can for the priority in my life, which is the kids. One of the struggles that I see coming for you will be your sex life. Your sex life improved while she was in her affair, that had nothing to do with any manipulation your wife's lover did, that only happened because it turned her on to cheat on you. When the cheating stopped, the sex life decreased as well. She was no longer turned on. Your wife gets turned on by cheating on you. That means, if your sex life should improve again, you will jump to accusing her of cheating again. Or it remains as it is that enough for you? The other part that I see no coming back from is not the cheating but her lies. She doesn't regret what she did or feels any remorse, she regrets that you caught her. That is all. She never planned to come clean, she wanted this affair, this whole experience all to herself and remember it for what it was, a wonderful time for her. The lying and showing you how easy that is for her and how good she is at it, is where I see the real deal breaker here. How could you ever believe her anything again? This would be different if she felt real guilt for what she did and began to work on herself right after the affair to make sure that she never does the same again, but all that she did was to push you into an open marriage, so that she can get more of what she loved so much. You can talk about that guy whatever you want, but he could have never manipulated her to have an affair if your wife wouldn't have wanted it. She made a decision for that affair, not her lover. She wanted that to happen. The open marriage part is something I just can't get behind. That was just, I don't know, I can't imagine a harsher way to humiliate your partner. Stay strong and stay on your path, wherever that path might lead you to. Neither of us were virgins when we met. I just made a commitment to us, physically, mentally, emotionally. Respected her and honored her. With her actions, she proved that I'm just another piece of meat, among other things. So even if we resume sex, which is part of the love bombing attempts, she's no longer someone special. Just a piece of tail. It's her body. Before she was sacred. She reduced our relationship to a transactional one. Not what we agreed upon. Now, she can do as she pleases. Just not with me. The ease of lying and her having a taste for it is far more serious than her getting her willies met. It casts doubts on the past and makes the future uncertain. So you're really echoing my thoughts on this. She's a spent card. My task is to make sure all the kids are okay and for the older ones to learn that living with honor and self-dignity is important. WS is an example to avoid. My other task is to limit her effect on the kids. We no longer share values as hers are suspect and corrupted. This is the part that has me up at night and frightened if I fail at it. This would be the failure of my life if I can't fix it with the kids. Her reckoning has not come yet. I won't be there for her when it comes. I'm sorry for her, but it's what she chose. No malice, no hate. Just disappointment. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night. Wherever you are.